back to the Bright Podcast, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and thank you for taking time out of your day to take a listen to this episode. So, this season we've been looking at different stories, different real life events from the Bible when water was involved, and how something so simple as water can be turned into something so extraordinary when God is involved. We looked at so many different parts from the Bible where water's involved and how God has changed the lives and changed how people think because of what he did. In this week's episode, this week's passage that we're going to look at is no different. We're going to be looking at when Jesus walked on the water. And this is one of those, early stories that, kids learn in Sunday school. But it's such a powerful passage, powerful real life event that truly happened when Jesus walked on the water. And I just want to take a look at two different accounts of it. First from Matthew and then from John. And then truly look at the impact it made on the people who witnessed this and the impact it can make on us if we truly can get into the Word and truly read what the Bible has to say. In Matthew 14, it says in verse 22, immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, and he sent the multitudes away. Then he sent the multitudes away. He went to the mountains up by himself to pray. Now when the evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a ghost," and they cried out with fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come out to you on the water." He said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and was beginning to sink. He cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the winds ceased. Then those who were on the boat came and worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." I just want to point out a couple things from these few verses here in Matthew. The boat was in the middle of the sea. Jesus was up on the mountain praying. He had just fed 5,000 people with just a small meal. His cousin had just been beheaded. Was going through a lot. And what he did was what I feel like not a lot of us do all the time. Is he was struggling, but he went to God when he was struggling. I feel like sometimes we don't always go to God when we're struggling, but it needs to. And Jesus is our example for that, because when Jesus felt, a little bit of struggle in his life, he went off by himself in solitude and prayed. But then the boat is out in the middle of the sea being tossed by the waves. In the middle of the night, Jesus decided, you know what? They're out on the boat and they need to be shown something. They need to be secure in their faith, knowing that I'm the Son of God is what Jesus is wanting to do here, I feel like, because he could have easily just waited till the morning and got on his own boat and rowed over to the other side. But instead, he decides to walk out on the water, which is absolutely amazing, I think, and goes to show that he has power over this world and the nature of this world, and showing that he truly is the Son of God to these people. But then a lot of people look at Peter, how Peter stepped out of the boat, how Peter stepped out on his faith, stepped out looking to God, looking to Jesus. And when he did look at Jesus, he was able to walk on that water. But when he turned to the storm, that's when he began to sink. And that's the reminder for us, is to not be afraid, to be of good cheer, because When we're looking at Jesus, we know we can win. We know we can fight through the storm. We know we can face the storms of life because Jesus has won, because Jesus is the Son of God. And then just over in John chapter 6, we have a little bit shorter passage of Jesus walking on the water, where it just talks about how Jesus went by himself alone to pray because of everything that just happened. But he knows that his disciples, his apostles, his best friends are afraid. But he tells them that he's there, and he tells them to not be afraid. But what I want to focus on is a little bit after. Is, all these things have happened. Jesus had fed the 5,000. He had just walked on the water. But then Jesus asked them, his teaching, and a lot of his disciples are turning away because he says the teaching is hard. But then in verse 67 of John 6, Jesus says to the 12, says to his closest friends, "Do you also want to go away?" But then Simon Peter says something powerful, something that we all need to be reminded of. He said, but Simon Peter answered him, "Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Also, we have come to believe and know that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God." He says, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Only through you can we be saved, is what he's talking about. And that's a statement of great faith by Peter, knowing what Jesus had just done, what he had just witnessed Jesus do. Surely he would be able to say that, right? But through all our lives, through the struggle, through the hardships we face, is it hard to look to God and to say, thank you for putting me here. Thank you for the opportunities you've given me. Thank you for how far I've gotten in life. Because we wouldn't be here without Jesus. We wouldn't be here without God. And I think we just need to go to him more often and say thank you for putting us here. That when we get scared, we shouldn't hide away and just tremble in fear because we don't know what's going to happen. But when we're afraid, we should turn to God. Because when Peter was on the water, he got scared. Because he saw the craziness of the storm and the big and crashing of the waves. But he turned to the only one he knew who could save him. And that was Jesus. Jesus showed his power over the world, over nature, by walking on that water. And then Peter made that great statement of faith because he knew that when he had his eyes fixed on Jesus, he was able to stand and walk through that storm on the water. And he knew that when he turned his eyes, turned his mind, his heart toward the storm, that he began to sink. And the same thing goes for us, that we shouldn't be afraid of what the world has in store for us, because Jesus has already won. One of my absolutely favorite verses in the Bible is John 16:33, where Jesus just simply says, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." And it's just that tremendous reminder that no matter what the world throws at us, that Jesus won, that Jesus has already overcome that, and that the only way we will overcome that is if we turn to Jesus. And just the reminder for this week is, whatever the world throws at you, turn to Jesus. Whatever storm you face, turn to Jesus. Don't turn to this world. Don't go off by yourself trying to figure out on your own, but turn to Jesus, and he will help you. And then this just reminds me of James chapter 4. Just a tremendous reminder of what this looks like in action. James 4, verse 7. Just verse 7. Therefore, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And that's powerful, because what that means is when we resist the devil, that means we're running towards God. And that means we're running towards the thing that the devil is most scared of. When the world tries to fill your mind with these just horrible thoughts and tries to get you to do things that you would never do, run to God and Satan will run away from you. Turn to Jesus and the devil will run away from you, because there's only one way to get to heaven, and that is the way through Jesus.